Mira, a nation that picks which laws to follow isn't enforcing justice, ladies and gentlemen. It's inviting chaos. See, mira, sanctuary policies, they're not compassion. They're confusion dressed up as virtue. See, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Next Step Show. It is always my honor to hang out with you. See, pero mira, today I got a guy, you've heard the voice before. See, he doesn't really need an introduction, right? Pero let me bring into the proper introduction because I love doing this. See, mira, I'm going to bring in a guy who's phenomenal. Un poquito corto, sí, un poquito calvo, pero smart as a whip. And mira, this guy loves God, country, and family. Nobody else other than the Honorable Luis Martinez. Señor Luis Martinez, ¿cómo está, hermano? That's that's good to hear because I've been I've been talking a lot about what's happening with these sanctuary cities and so forth, Luis. And, it's important for me to really hone in on this because, como un Latino, I find it so offensive. And, the crazy thing is there's a city council member, the president, who's sitting there saying ridiculous things like, oh, well, I'm hearing that there's an uptick in driving while Latino. I mean, come on. How is that leadership? Driving como un Latino. Well, that's the funny thing about it is that most people are probably thinking the same thing, pero in his infinite wisdom, I believe that means that if you're brown or black or si eres Latino, right? If you're Hispanic, that apparently you're bound to be pulled over, you're bound to be arrested, and in the context of this press conference, well, you know what? You're bound to be deported to another country just because, well, you're Latino. Right. Well, you know what, Luis? Let's go basic here because your story. You came here legally. You describe your time initially in the U.S. as a guest, as someone who's here, invited. And I think you even gave the example that if you go visit a friend, if they invite you over for dinner, you don't go into their house and destroy it or como se dice, making yourself at home, putting your feet up on the furniture, kind of stuff. Yeah. Hmm. So, so, so let me interrupt there real quick, if I may, Luis. See, because in the Latino community, see, whether you're Boricua or Cubano, Dominicano, Mexicano, it doesn't matter, right? That orgullo of being Latino is like profound, right? And I think what ends up happening is that because that is. I mean, Latinos are very not that other cultures aren't, but Latinos are very proud of their Latin culture, so they become very offensive, I think, sometimes. And I think what's happening here, as we saw it in Rochester, especially with the city council president, there along with the mayor and the the appointed chief of police, or like I like to call him, the mayor's mini army there. Pero I think they play on that, Luis, and that emotional pride that we have, and then they start doing. Luis, can you do me a favor? Can you define, right? Don't look it up. Don't do a Google. Just in your own words, can you define what a sanctuary city is? So, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on all the social medias. I apologize in advance if you can't hear it, Senor Luis, but I'll tell you what, if you head over to WYSL1040.com, you can catch the stream live and watch us on social media, right? Or just catch us on the stream, see? Or tune in at other radio stations, WYSL, WLEA, and CWCKR. Pero, como I always say, dialogue is pretty darn important to me, right? Give us a call, 585-346-3000, or toll free if you're down in the southern tier. I'd love to hear from you, Harnell, guys, because guess what? See, this sanctuary city, right? That whole concept, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? That impacts you too, right? Look to your left, look to your right. Look, Louis, our listeners in rural America. Many of them are like sanctuary cities. That's not going to impact me in any way. I'm here and it's too far. Is that a fact? And how can sanctuary cities impact rural America? Check this out, Luis. Check this out, Luis. See, New York City between 23 and 24, the New York City public hospital system had a significant influx in what they call asylum seekers or the illegal immigrants, right? Spent millions on emergency care. Pero let me point this out and to show the trickery, right, that we see because you take somebody like Joe Morelli, for example, okay? When he's sitting there touting this whole, oh, Trump's gonna cut your Medicaid and all this stuff, and then he uses examples like, well, those people that they have to go to emergency, they're going to be concerned whether their sniffles have to become or is going to become something bigger, right? And I guess my problem with that is that what he's touting, and this is why we have these big bills, right? When you don't pay for something, like you said, everybody else pays for it. And guess what? When we're spending millions for illegal immigrants to go deal with a stuffy or a runny nose, well, that's rural America who pays for it. 96% of the world. But hold that till we get back from break, though, Senor Luis. See, ladies and gentlemen, we got to pay the bills here real quick because guess what? We don't get any welfare recipients. We'll be right back right here on the Voice of Liberty. No cambie ese dial. For those of you on social media, we'll be right back.